In one of the more intense matchups we've seen this entire season, the semifinal does not disappoint, nor does it disappoint. National Instruments and Google are currently tied 2-2 in the top left-hand corner, trying to bring a nice juicy lead to National Instruments. It's Sergeant York. And on Frost, the second largest map, second only to Ultra Zim, in the opposing side from Team Google, from the Google-esques, it's Jimbo. Now Jimbo, if you will recall, did some very suave mech play in this matchup. He absolutely loves to do the rather excessive, gruesome, slow and steady style that makes the Zerg minstrels weep. Oh, I want to grow up and be Terran one day. All you have to do is infest well, my dear. And you can follow in the footsteps of Jimbo. I mean, the mech mix can be summed up as this. Once you're maxed, it takes but a single push to win the game. It is not the way, chip away, harass, and this and that the other styles are known for. It is the big, muscular, I'm going to flex my biceps for many years and just do the one-punch knockout. All the Goku styles. So what often ends up happening is the Zerg player who's a little too overeager winds up losing in a mid-sized bust when the mech player is trying to be defensive, trying to stay alive till that maxed point. And once the Zerg's crippled himself with his own overeagerness, the mech player can move in for the win. But at the same time, we might ask the question, how do you defeat the mech player? And there are two answers. One, expand a lot. Because what can he really do? He has to stay defensive and counterattack. When he moves out to go for the bust, you bust in his face. You win by having simply 3 or 4 waves of Zerg units to defeat his one big mega death wave. But we might not even see any of that. I'm just merely speculating. Sergeant York is doing a rather standard expand pool, no gas, gonna get his 4 queens. And Jimbo's going for the double Reaper. Fairly typical way to play for Terran nowadays. Get the Reapers up, scout, control, hold watchtowers, and while all that's going on, expand. See Jimbo even having pulled units out of gas. Well, I'd love to see a command center coming up soon out of Jimbo. Very, very strong way to play. With the Reaper getting this fast over on this side of the map, it just barely beats the aggressive Queen defense. So what Jimbo's really looking for is to get a count of the gas. He wants to get in there and see, do you have any drones here yet? No? Good. Well, not good for this drone, who's going to be a temporary spine crawler. Look, I need you just to tell everyone you're going to be a spine crawler, but then it doesn't matter if you cancel that or not. Jimbo scouts in. He's so far seen 3 of the 4 geysers not up and operational. That's not quite enough. He really does need to see that extra gas. On the SCV, you have the chance. You have the gift. No, don't squander this life. Oh, that's kind of a brutal position to be in as Jimbo, to just not know if that Vespene geyser is down. But oftentimes players will just say, hey, if I don't see a wiggly pool, I'm going to assume that you are not going for the ultra fast speed. So in this position, Jimbo's retreating back to get his barracks, a reactor, and to get his factory, a reactor soon. There's still no telling if mech is going to be happening or not, with the exception of this one little detail. The extra refinery says, yup, the only thing that takes that much gas is a whole lot of factories. Now as Jimbo pokes into the backside, we see all the queens and all the lings heading directly into the main base. I love these 4 queen defenses on this map. There's actually not a very big distance between the 2 bases, so the creep spread is more than enough to lock everything out. So far in the workers kill tab, we see a pair of workers have been killed. 3rd command center coming up on up for Jimbo. Nice little wall off. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my god, I love that. Oh my god. Jimbo played with so many Legos as a child, knows exactly how those things connect together. Now he's just got to lift and thrift. Just gotta lift and... Oh, that's right! Oh, guys. I'm so... Oh, how embarrassing. I'm so sorry. I forgot that we were watching Jimbo here. What Jimbo does is he goes straight for the tanks. He says, you know what? Attacking's for scrubs, man. You attack? What a chump, man. I'm going for tanks and I'm defending. Although there are attack timings where you push with Marines, Reapers, and the single siege tank to punish a too-fast third from a Zerg player. But what we're seeing out of Sergeant York is it looks like he's done effective scouting. We've been seeing a lot of that happen in the After Hours Gaming League, especially given that Jimbo is oftentimes sent out twice for his team, so we get to see a lot of his mech. And there's nothing wrong in Sergeant York's shoes just to say, you know what, this guy mechs a lot, so I'm just going to go for the anti-mech. Ooh, getting a 4th extractor, you say? A 4th extractor, you say? It's a little bit more of a long-term play. Oftentimes players will stay for a 3 extractor opening if they want to begin getting a little bit juicy and move out and take this down. This is going to be just a perfect counterplay for Sergeant York. If he can use these roaches to lock out the 3rd base, this is going to be it. There is no such thing as an effective long-term 2-base mech opening. More factories coming up. Jimbo's going steady with his factory play. He's getting his armory up. The 3 Reapers are beginning to scout the distance expansions. The biggest struggle that a mech player will have is expansions on opposite corners of the map. You have to go through all that effort of getting your big, fat, slow Thors everywhere and sieging and unsieging and all that stuff, maybe even mines. It's hard to get one place as it is, let alone 2 locations on opposite corners of the map. So Jimbo scouts all those extraneous edges first to make sure that the extremities of the map are covered. And that is going to be very comforting for him. Again, for that big final Death Doom push. Now in Jimbo's shoes, he doesn't have a tremendous amount of intel. He scans the main and sees a layer. He knew there was a layer there. There was no way there wasn't going to be a layer. But what Jimbo needs, no matter what, is anti-air. I mean, you can do without a terribly large number of siege tanks and take out roaches and banelings and this and that, no problem. The danger comes with just a few mutalisks peppering themselves in. Sergeant York Queen count is at what? 4 thus far. And there's the Roach Flood, and Mutalisks love it. Roaches and Mutas, the 2 anti-mech units. Not in direct engagements, but in counter engagements, and in speed, and the ability to get more and more bases. Jimbo's now moving forward. He's going to run headlong into these Roaches. He needs to keep those Reapers alive. Great reaction timing by Jimbo. If he loses those Reapers, he has no way to scout. He has to keep them up and running. Sergeant York is now beginning to assault the front of the siege tanks. Are not in the right position, and the wall off is incomplete. We see that the command center's already moved out to the front, but keep in mind, Roaches are not good at direct engagements. They're good at the countering. They're good at the harassing. These 2 mules are like, dude, I only had 5 seconds to live. Tell my mother I love her. Sergeant York eating those shell shots in the face. And this might look like a slightly losing battle for Zerg, but it is paying huge dividends. He has locked this expansion out of a transfer, and all he needs to do is just chill his jelly beans. He needs to get that on ice now. Chill the beans, friend. All right. His beans are now being upgraded. Infestation Pit coming up. The Swarm Host is a good finishing unit, but it is not a good staple unit in this matchup. Mechs can rock only Swarm Host armies pretty easily. And what an interesting transition from Jimbo. We're starting to see additional starports get built. Well, maybe this isn't a transition. Maybe this is just an error. Maybe he's just made a mistake. We're starting to hear that Overseer make cries of defeat. God, still not landed. So good. Uh-oh. Enduring Locusts. Without a 4th base done, I don't know how much I like that. I mean, it certainly feels cool. It feels like a fun and sexy way to break through. And when you win with Swarm Hosts, you win hard, man. You very win. It's like a ramp druid in Hearthstone. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know, but one time I played Ragnaros on turn 3. Even though that might sound like a funny joke, and you should totally laugh at it, and I thank you for your love of humor, even though that might sound like a joke, it's still absolutely critical to understand that metaphor. It feels really good to win with Swarm Hosts early, but I just don't think that it is the most effective way to win. I mean, already Jimbo starting to get his tank count up. It's very smart getting a Banshee out. Wow, actually has 2 sets of Banshees coming up. Uh-oh, Hive en route. This is about to be a long game. A long game. You're gonna learn today. 12 swarm hosts in production. These roaches actually do manage to pick off that sensor tower. I mean, what's so great about mutas and roaches that you can send roaches in here, be picking this off, you can send mutas onto this backside, be picking these towers off, be splitting the Thors up, join them all together in assault. But you know what swarm hosts are? The slowest unit in the game. It is slower even than mech. Mech can counter-attack against locusts. That's how slow swarm hosts are. Alright, Sergeant York's about to go. He's about to pull out the beans. He's about to pull out the serious beans. This guy's, he's a monster with beans. Now what's crazy is that these Banshees... Oh god, Sergeant York is in the worst position possible. Ah! Ah! He's gonna have to immediately turn right around. Baby right round like a record baby. He needs to siege those tanks up. He needs to get those... Or the Banshees. Oh god, siege up, don't let them all die! Or, you know what, just mow right through. Even the second round of Locusts are going to be straightforward to take out. Oh, this is a potential disaster for Zerg. This could go horribly. Siege tanks are sieging up. We're starting to see the Hellbat lines at the front fall down. The Mutals are getting produced now, finally. But Jimbo with the Banshees, with the legendary Banshee transition. Cloaks coming up on up. We're starting to see yet another command center. There's the scan. Instantly picks off 1, 2, likely going to get 3. Gotta be very, very careful. But I mean, man, Sergeant York playing like a pro, getting the 3-3 upgrades, has the Hive up, has this 4th base up and running with defenses. I mean, everything is going just right. So right. It's like every movie in the last 20 minutes that stars Jennifer Love Hewitt. It just goes right. Now Jimbo kind of has a funky series of problems ahead of him now that he's begun to see those Mutalisks. He needs to ramp up the amount of anti-air he has. Thors are not really that good against roaches. They're not really that good against the Locusts, but of course, just waltzing their way around and starting to target fire the Swarm Host is going to be relatively effective as is. So Sergeant York, God, playing like such a pro, expanding again, getting a macro hatch. So good. Bottom base, getting harassed down. We're starting to see the Flyer Carapace upgrade getting upgraded. Here's a very gentle little counterattack for Jimbo. He's moving in. It looks like he's found a single spine crawler with the blue flame upgrades. Doesn't really matter too much for that circumstance, but once he gets to the drones, oh, the pain that's going to be wrought. Mutalisks get repelled, no problem. Jimbo begins to move in. This is a nice little distraction technique, just trying to soften up his enemy. He doesn't need these Hellbats in any engagement anytime soon. They're nice against the roaches, but the siege tanks are going to be effective enough against the roaches. We see dogs barking outside, getting deeply upset at this containment play. Geez, with 6 tanks, shutting down all the incoming locusts, but again, don't mind just some locusts. Don't mind... Well, I do mind mass locusts. I mind mass swarm hosts. I think that's very bad. But just a few is providing a very interesting gravity well of focus for Jimbo. He's getting sucked in. Has to keep all his tanks there, has to keep all his focus there, and it makes it very difficult to split this up properly. Now we're seeing his roaches hitting on this extreme backside, and this is the vulnerable angle at the far right. Roaches get cleaned up, but Mutalisks stepping in. Whoa, whoa, easy there, easy. Mutas, guys. Mutas. Continuing to see the locusts move up and up. A couple more Hellbats doing their Zealot impersonation, and they're going to counterattack this hatchery. And if Sergeant York ramps up the pace of his expanding, there is no way he can lose. Roach Mutalisk in infinite numbers is good. But I'm so scared. I'm starting to see Vipers get produced. Jimbo's just hanging on, staying strong, 4 base. One of the big reasons why players like Mech versus Zerg on this map is the 4 base guarantee. You're just going to get it unless you do something horrifically wrong, which Jimbo is not really prone to do. He's pretty experienced with this. And yeah, you're going to get 4 bases, no problem. But the real danger And the real reason that players don't like meching on this map is the huge distances hurt people. I mean, these Hellbats have been journeying longer than Frodo, man. And then they finally get here, and they're like, oh my god, I left the ring at home. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm just going to hurl myself into the lava. But a very intriguing transition from Jimbo as he says, you know what, I'm going to go into the hyper late game. I'm just going to go for a bunch of starports. I am not going to be a meching player anymore. I'm going to be a guy who uses mules for his money and ravens for his wins. He's going for the Sky Terran style. Wow, this is... Right now we're hearing explosions, but we're not actually seeing action. It's like a Michael Bay movie starring a whole bunch of philosophers discussing existentiality. I mean, there's certainly the high CGI budget, but I don't know, it's just not gripping anybody. This is the point of least tension on the map. You know, the Blood War in Dungeons & Dragons, the never-ending war of demons, certainly sounds cool, but I actually think that it's like this. In the meantime, an expansion has gone down. Yes, Jimbo. This is a big moment right now for Jimbo. He's looking for the chance to set himself up another base. He's doing the slow creep command centers. Gradually gooping up to the top side, and this is what's critical for Sergeant York. Looking for the chance to shut this out if he can just starve this player on 4 bases, which sounds like an insane series of sentences. Oh. If he can just starve that mech player on 4 bases, he can pull a nice win. Oh. Manages to get a very nice connection there, but it looks like the Viking count is getting increasingly low. Battle cruiser is soon to be operational. We've seen carriers and now battle cruisers in this best of 7. That is so epic. Oh, Sergeant York. Continuing to truck. And it looks like York is trying to find any opportunity he can. He's picking stuff away, but I mean, it's this Eunice loss tab that is shocking to me right now. The Terran player has lost more than the Zerg. I mean, I suppose that's not surprising with Swarm hosts on the field, but what I'm eager to point out is the 35 larva. Think of how much higher that could be. Imagine for a moment if that was like 51 larva. And then he could make almost 51 mutalisks. Love it. Sergeant York, I love it. He's hitting the south side, trying to peel it open for some more harassment. You can actually put the roaches on the high ground and take that out. Planetary Fortress is going to fall, but Jimbo's managed to set himself up almost 3 planetaries at this top side. Start to see the Vipers move forward. Oh! Oh my god, he's actually getting hits. He's actually getting hits. Banshee, Viking, Raven. As the battlecruiser is now operational and part of the Skyve army, it's starting to become increasingly more ambiguous what the composition for the Zerg should be. So let me lay it on for you. It should be mass mutalisks, because I want to see all those fire at the same time. Actually, I think that's probably the greatest way to explain this point. What is a Zerg player to do now? What is the composition that he goes for? This Terran player is now on 5 bases. Oh god, the Swarm host count is going to be collapsing very, very soon. I mean, with this base up, soon enough Terran can get this top right and this far top right. Sergeant York is not doing his duty as a Zerg player. He needs to consume everything on the map in the same way that I consume every donut I can see always. If I had finished this match before 9, I would have absolutely run to the store to get a cupcake. But as you might imagine, dun dun bum bum ba ba. I feel like I'm watching League of Legends with the endless waves of creep. And oh, as I glance over at chat, it looks like Moradin 119 actually just made that joke. Well, that's okay. This can be like Leibniz-Newton thing, where like we both did it at the same time. We're actually starting to see a little bit of a conflict here. And oh my god, Sergeant York tries to engage, but this is Thor tank battle cruiser Banshee Viking Raven. It is not messing around, and suddenly we're starting to see Jimbo. Again, he's been defending all game long, and it just takes one attack. It just takes one single attack. It's like the winning lotto ticket. All you gotta do is find it. You're like, but that's hard. And I'm like, exactly. That's the skill behind mech. We're starting to see these swarm hosts move forward. The Locust taking out the front line of units, but Locust can't catch up to an army very well. You just continue to back away, and we're seeing the Corruptors begin to deal damage to this Air Force. We're seeing the Hydras actually getting some nice isolated shots on these tanks, and we'll be able to take those out. We're seeing the Hydralisk count is still low, though. Was it 20? Back down to nada. Locust step forward, slowly eating away this tiny army that remains on the ground. But the real question is, what about the skies? Up in the air, we see 5 Vikings, 3 battlecruisers, 2 Ravens, and a bunch of Banshees in a pear tree. It's a flying pear tree. It's gonna go into pruning mode. Oh! Tanks getting sacrificed. Sergeant York. It's not entirely clear who's going to win, but Terran absolutely has the edge with this top right set of expansions. He's just popping command centers left and right. My god, Jimbo has so many sensor towers, the mini-map looks like a Venn diagram museum. Pow, pow, pow. Now it looks like these Thors are also going to be doing their Zealot impersonation. I've never seen a Thor counterattack, but I see no reason to be Thor about it. 1 siege tank on the high ground, commander tank. Command centers spreading every which way. And we start to see some roaches pop out. I feel like this engagement is really going to explain why the Thors need to be built in this matchup. They're reasonably effective against everything, amazing against air, but they still get overwhelmed on the ground. That's exactly what the Zerg player is trying to get the Terran player to do, to overbuild those Thors early. But now all of a sudden with this extremely slow army for Zerg, he has to take out this top expansion. And the time might be right. There's only a few tanks here, and the tanks are really what are needed to take out this expansion. I mean, Zerg's broke on minerals, man. And Zerg doesn't really have a good gas dump in the same way that the Terran player does. I mean, flooding Ravens is going to be more or less great. Oh god, as the Locust moves here, the army is at the other side. Oh, Sergeant York! Sergeant York, no! Look out, Sergeant York! He's just torn to shreds. And all of a sudden we have Sergeant York rallying to the right. There's an army that is below him. He's got to be so careful right now. He wants to take out this expansion. He knows how critical that is. Corruptors, what are you doing? Where are you going, friends? Desperately re-expanding the south side. Sergeant York is. Jimbo is looking in just fantastic shape right now. Jimbo has basically done one attack this game to take out this expansion, and he's back on the defense. So some infestors getting produced for Zerg. It's only a semi-reasonable gas dump because of how mineral expensive it is too. 150 gas, 100 minerals. So as the Thors are just darting out into the middle of the map, going every which way, we're still seeing that Sky Terran army. 7 Ravens, 5 battlecruisers. Continuing to expand, continuing to grow. Locust will almost be able to kill off 1 command center, but of course will run out of life. And I mean, I just don't see this ending well. These are the counterattacks that just are so effective. If you can get them in reasonable numbers, you can get to vulnerable places. Jimbo's just sitting here with battlecruisers. This is the game that never ends. Just build more swarm hosts, my friend. Some people started building it, not knowing what it was. But all of the matchups just stopped happening because this is the... Alright, Jimbo looks like he's hitting that bottom expansion. The siege tank on the high ground is reinforcing. Love it. An attempted dart in with the Corruptors. And the Locust. Not going to be enough. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is this the big moment? You can't run. You can't run! Oh my god, nobody can run. Nobody's running anymore. It's like everyone, once they get out of college, no one can run. Finally, the Corruptors are beginning to engage. We haven't seen that. Oh my god, all the Raven numbers are down. Jimbo may have squandered his opportunity. He's about to lose his entire Air Force. Oh my god. This could be the key moment. This could be the big moment where Sergeant York makes a huge comeback, stepping back in. He can begin to flood Mutalisks right now. There's really no anti-air. Oh my god. Oh my god. Where did your Air Force go? There's just no Air Force. A couple Hydras moving up in. Oh my god. Running relatively low on cash. Oh my god. Out of cash. This bottom expansion has actually suddenly become the big key base. We're seeing Jimbo continue to step forward. He's just desperate to try to just walk through, eliminate this big mining base. Oh my god, the power of the forest is real. The Mutalisk switcheroo, huh? Oh my gosh, Sergeant York is not exercising much patience right now. I think he's just in a state of panic. He needs to hold on to this top base, hurling smatterings of units here and there, every which way that he can. I mean, if he can defend this with Sky Zerg, he's going to be in good shape. But where are the Mutas? Where are the Mutas? Ah! That's a barracks! What are you doing? No! No! Oh my god, Zerg's going to lose this base. Now, this bottom side doesn't really have that many missile turrets at it. Starting to produce a whole lot of Mutas. We're starting to see the Thors get rallied to the top side. Thors now are 3-3. Mutalisks are 3-3. Right now, it's 19 Mutas out. Oh god, I have no idea who's going to win or lose now. I love the switch to Mutalisks. That is what's been needed all game long, excuse me. I thought about Broodlords, and then I just said Lord. Oh goodness. The tension is maximum. Zerg now is more or less broke. He has gone from Robusto to Busto, but now Terran's parked himself over this base. I think that Zerg should make a quick sweep down here, take out this, and then he only has the top right to worry about. Alternatively, he can sweep to the top right, threaten these two bases, take them out, then go down to the bottom side. No matter what choice he makes, it's got to be fast, it's got to be now. There's 6 Thors out. Sergeant York, what'll he do? If he clusters up a little too much, the Mutalisks are going to feel quite Thor. Those are clustered. Those are clustered. Oh my god, those are very clustered. Those are the most clustered things I've ever seen. Be so careful. Ah! Oh my god, they received a sickening volley. We've seen the Mutalisks get microed every which way, but that is a big army of Vikings being backed up by a big old army of Thors. It's Air Force versus anti-Air Force. We're seeing the Corruptors begin to get very yellow. Very yellow. With that building armor, I'm not sure there's that much that Zerg can do. Oh no. Oh, the Mutalisk count is plummeting down. Oh, he's elected to engage. Oh my god, there's so many missiles of every type. Everything is about to die. 2 Thors heading there to cut off. Oh, poor Mutas. Oh my god, Sergeant York. Jimbo, the king of mech. Wow. That was kind of an amazing win. And now we actually get the opportunity to see what a Corruptor shot looks like. It's amazing. Look at that. I've actually never seen that before. That's really cool. Which means that now the Googleisks have returned to the lead with a 3-2 position over the National Instruments undefeated team, 11-0. Of course, the Googleisks were 7-4 in regular season. Say, huh? Say, bleh. 7-4 as they were the wild card winners. With this lead from Google, it means that National Instruments' hope is on the line. Their first defeat might be one that locks them out of their first grand final appearance. Oh, the tension is high. The end is nigh. When we return, we will be watching Game 6, match point of the AHGL semis.